So I showed you how to make a slab mug. And so this is my slab mug so far. And all I've done was I attached the bottom. I have not completely smoothed that out in there. I can kind of see from the angles of the light. So I still need to get in there and smooth that out. The tools that I prefer to use for that are the wooden modeling tools. So this is an example of a wooden modeling tool. It works really nicely for that. It's like an extendo finger. So it's a lot longer than my finger. It can get down in those surfaces. And then I want to make sure that it's nice and smooth. So I don't want to get any of that dry clay or anything on it. And then I just take that down into my seams. And I can work that and get those edges nice and rounded and even. So I don't have any like little drag marks or anywhere that the bacteria is going to sit inside of there. This step does take a little bit of time, but you get the idea. The next step, I like to use a banding wheel because this lets me see it from all sides. And I look at it from above and I try to make sure that it looks very circular. This is pretty leather hard at this point. I really can't change the shape anymore. So I can't really flare this in or out. I let it dry a little bit too much, a little more than I would have liked. But that's okay. I can still demo with this to kind of show you the next step. When I flip this over, what I started doing was I used the potato peeler. It's a great nifty little tool to shave away to be able to give me the shape that I want. I wanted this to kind of flare in at the bottom. I didn't want it to just go straight down. So using my little potato peeler, I take this along the surface and I trim away the areas that I don't want. Oh, and of course for demo, I gouge up the side. Here's the great thing about clay. You just make it behave. So I took a little gouge out of it and I can fix it just as easily. But I actually use it upside down just to kind of show you how I do it. So I looked and I kind of look around to see what needs to be changed. Like there's a little gouge here. And I can take this and just drag this along the edge and peel away some of that extra clay that I no longer want. Another tool that works really well at this is this rasp. So I can take and peel away with this as well. So I can drag this along the surface, shredding away that extra clay. And I'm trying to kind of make it match the circle that I drew in the middle. How did I get this circle? Well, I walked around the room until I found something that I liked that was the right size circle, and it just so happens to be a Gorilla Glue bottle. And I set that on the bottom and I made a circle. So that way I know exactly how big I want my foot to be. So now I'm just kind of shaping this around to make the outer circle match the inner circle. And so I'm just trimming this away. And how much can you trim? Well, it's based on how thick your base is. And as you know, when I did this, I made my base a little bit thicker because I wanted to be able to trim my foot instead of adding it. Now, you might have chose to add your foot. If you chose that, then all you're going to do is just add your foot onto the bottom, which I'll show that step next. But if I'm not adding, I want to go ahead and get the shape that I want first. So I'm feeling pretty happy about that shape. I like this size of my foot. Now that I have that circle drawn, I just did that with a pencil, I can take my carving tool now, and I can carve my foot out of the center. So I'm just going to press my tool down, and using my banding wheel and that line that I've drawn, I'm going to try to keep it at the same depth as I spin this around. And again, how far down can I carve is all dependent on how thick my slab was. Hopefully that makes sense. So if you used a really thin slab, you would not be able to carve very far down. Once I make it all the way around, I'm now going to go back and start evening that out. But I just wanted to show you this first step and how to make this foot. Just in carving away, removing some of this excess. Because remember, in all the projects, you're trying to keep it thin, consistent, smooth, even. So that's how I'm going to make the foot to finish my slab mug. So that's like part 2 to the slab mug. Now, I don't like all of these weird textures and such, and all of these little extra bits. I'm going to clean all of that up, okay? So to do that, I also like to use my rib. And so with my rib, notice if I take it along the surface. Are you able to see that okay? Notice how smooth I can get that. Notice the angle that I'm holding my rib as I do this. So I'm just taking that around the surface, getting it nice and smooth. Once I have this, I can come back, smooth out the little bits from the beginning, and look at the nice shape that that's going to have for this mug. Won't that be nice? That'll be so super. So instead of just being a flat, boring, straight down mug, now it's going to have a little bit of flair at the base. So imagine a mug handle sitting off the side. That's going to be really nice. The other thing I want to consider is my lip. So I let mine get a little bit dry. I would need to wet mine again. I want to create a little dent here at the bottom. Now, I could kind of work my thumb under it. If you get to this point where it gets a little bit too dry like mine is, look what I'm doing. I'm using my two hands together. I'm pushing the lip outward, and I'm kind of going back and forth, getting rid of some of the clay under the lip. This is another way of doing this. This is actually kind of a good way. You can do it when it's softer and it's a little less effort, but see what that did? It creates this nice little flare of a lip, and think about how nice that's going to be to drink out of. So that's something I always try to consider. It has a function. The function is to drink out of. Therefore, I want a little lip that flares out. I want a sharper edge in here so the liquid actually comes out. Then I want a place for my bottom lip to sit right across there. Look how nice that shape is. Now that I have this shape, now I have to use coils to do this again. Oh my goodness. So here's round 2.